Hey everybody, welcome to the Hockey Skate Down. Before we get into the video, I just want to say thank you to all my subscribers. If you want to join our hockey team, it's free. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell to all. Thank you all so much, and let's get started. There's a lot of talk about the NHL coming back relatively soon, and they mentioned a 24-team format. Devils aren't in that picture, so I would like to do a video focusing on what they can turn their attention to try to acquire some talent heading into next season. All the other teams I have mentioned in this video are on that list, so they're going to be playing in the playoffs. So I thought it'd be a fun video to do to see where the Devils can go to make certain trades instead of just looking at free agency. You know, with the free agent forwards that they have, they're a lot older than what Fitzgerald is trying to gear his attention to. So I figured let me do a video where Devils can make a couple of shrewd trades to help this team get better. I wanted to start off with the Toronto Maple Leafs. I've done a video of this in the past. I've mentioned Kapanen for Severson, and this isn't a video to bash Severson. When I'm looking at the Devils' defense as it stands now, I don't think if they're looking to move Butcher, I don't think the return's going to be that good. I think Mermis will be brought back on the cheap on a short two-way deal, so I think that kind of pans out the left side. Then you have on the right side you have Subban, Severson, and I think with Subban, it's going to be hard to move him to get a win on that trade. We're going to have to retain a lot of salary just to move him. But I know he'll draw a lot of interest, but it's going to be where I don't think it's going to be worth it for us. So that's where I kind of shift my attention towards Severson. We kind of see what Severson offers us, that nearing that 40-point range. With his defensive lapses at times, sometimes it's an issue, but he can produce. He's still young. He's locked into a good contract that can help out a lot of teams, and he's a right-hand defenseman, which is a glaring need. So that's what Toronto always has been saying for the last couple of years. They need a right-hand defenseman, so that's where I shift the attention of Kapanen for Severson. Now, there may be other things that are thrown in as well. Toronto's got an additional fourth-round pick this year. Can that be included? Severson, we can retain a lot of salary, which won't affect our team. Maybe they throw in a player from Binghamton that played for us, played well, that can help Toronto out on their bottom two lines. So maybe it can be a trade sort of like that, or it could be one for one. Who knows? But Kapanen, it shows on Cap Friendly 3.23 for another 3 years. He's 23 years old. This year he had 13 goals, 23 assists, 36 points. And last year he had 20 goals, 24 assists for 44 points. Severson, on the other hand, is 4.16 AAV for another 4 years, it shows. He's 25 years old. This year he had 8 goals, 23 assists, 31 points. 18-19 was his best year. He had 11 goals, 28 assists, 39 points. And in 17-18 he had 9 goals, 15 assists for 24 points. So, do I think this is a good trade? Possibly. Kapanen doesn't get as much playing time playing in Toronto with all those elite talent. So I think coming over to New Jersey, I think you'd see a growth in his production, because I think he'd be playing a lot more in their top six. I think he'd be playing a lot more power play time, as he'd be a good forward to add. And this year you've seen it. He had a lot of speed. He had a killer of a shot. He scored a couple of goals, and against us he looked pretty good. So, I think it'd be a good trade. They need a right-handed defenseman in Toronto. So that's where I think this kind of makes a lot of sense. And if we could retain $1.5 million of that $4.16 for Severson, you'll be getting a right-hand defenseman for $2.66 million AAV, which is great. And I know a lot of I speak to a lot of Toronto fans on my boards, and they always say that Adam Larson would be a good trade, and I totally agree. I think Adam Larson would be a good addition to Toronto Maple Leafs, but I think if the cap does go down, I think Edmonton's going to do everything in their power to keep him, because he plays well with Clefbaum, and it's going to be hard to move him and try to bring in someone along that same price range to help out as well. So that's where I think they can't bite as much salary as we can with Severson, so I think that's where it kind of wins with us in Toronto. So I'll leave that trade as an option. The next trade I have is the Devils and the Golden Knights. And again, I'm going to mention Severson because Toronto wanted to add a right-hand... not Toronto, I'm sorry. Vegas wanted to add a right-handed defenseman this year. They added Alec Martinez. I think they were trying to add another defenseman, but they couldn't do it in time for the trade deadline. So that's where I think they'd be a good trading partner. You know, that Derek Englund on their team now is 38 years old. So can they bring him back on the cheap? Does he still want to play? Does he want to retire? Go elsewhere? I don't know. But I think with the same situation with them, if we can get a forward from them and possibly a pick, because they have a lot of picks and additional picks too, I think it'd be a win-win and retain some of that salary because they have a high cap hit. So let's talk about their trade. I say Alex Tuck and a third-round pick for Damon Severson with retained salary. And retained salary always helps out as Vegas's cap is up there. And, you know, they have a lot of good players locked into long-term deals. So that's where I think Severson helps is he's got a little bit of term added to his, so they don't have to worry about going out and getting another one. Alex Tuck is a right wing, which we desperately need. So that's why I keep mentioning right wings with Kapanen and Tuck. We need right wings. We're not very deep on that, especially in Binghamton with players coming up. So that's our glaring need. We have a lot of centers that can shift from center to left wing. That's why with the Toronto's case, I know they would want to trade off Janssen or Kerfoot, but we have a lot of centers that can shift to left wing, vice versa. And Kerfoot's not going to come for us because we drafted him and he didn't want to sign with us. So that's where I think Tuck would be great with the Devils. You know, he's 24 years old. He's still young. He's locked into a good contract, 4.75 for another 6-7 years. It still shows 7, but it's 6 after this year. And, you know, in 17-18, he put up 15 goals, 22 assists, 37 points. 18-19 was his best year. He scored 20 goals, 32 assists, 52 points. And 19-20, he had 8 goals, 9 assists, 17 points. And he had injury, so it hurt him a lot. And he's a big frame, 6'4", 220 pounds. So I think this would be a great trade. And the thing I like about this trade is when you sit back and think about it, you have Kuokkanen coming in. You have Foote coming in. And if you can add Tuck, kind of brings it back to that 95 Devils team where they had a lot of big forwards, a lot of big wingers, and they had that scoring ability too. So, you know, thinking that way kind of excites me about this trade. I really think Tuck would be a good addition. He'd help out Hughes. He'd help out our smaller players if he's on the line with Hughes, if he's on the line with Heischer. I think it'd be a good addition to bring a player like this in. He's locked into a good contract. He can add some physicality, stick up for players, score when he has to. So I think it'd be a good trade. And I know I'm mentioning a lot of Severson and trading him and who's going to fill that role. That's where I'm getting into with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now, Tampa Bay lost their first-round pick this year because they made a trade, and they don't have any first-round picks. And in a deep draft like this year, if they want to acquire a first-round pick, I say we trade our first-round pick, the last one, the Vancouver-Tampa thing, trade it back to them for Mikhail Sergachev. Now, I say Mikhail Sergachev because Tampa's got a pretty... they got a little bit of cap relief now, but they have to sign some other players, and Sergachev may be one of those contracts that may price them over. But, yeah, I know with Tampa, they're able to retain their players for cheaper. Does he want to stay? Would he want to move? I don't know. But he's also an RFA this year, so it could mean offer sheets. Now, with offer sheets, he's making under $1 million now. So you're looking at it, if he goes from $2.02 million to $4.05 million, it's a second-round pick. If he goes from $4.05 million to $6.8 million, it's a first and a third. So that's where I think his range may be. So if the Devils have to give up more than the first and a third is not bad, or maybe they throw in a player if they make a trade before that, I think that'd be a good trade. You know, Sergachev is a big defenseman. You know, he's 21 years old, so he fits that age range that Fitzgerald's looking for. His last couple of years, he has a little bit of a production drop in his games played and his points. 17-18, he played in 79 games. He has 9 goals, 31 assists, 40 points, and that was his best year. 18-19, he played in 75 games, 6 goals, 26 assists, 32 points. And 19-20 this year, he played 70 games, 10 goals, 24 assists for 34 points. So I like this deal. I really do. Sergachev is a player that's on the rise. I think if you're looking at a defense after that, you could have Sergachev, Butcher, Mermis on the left side. Then you have a question mark, and then you have Subban and Smith. Now, I don't want to play Sergachev with Subban if that's the case. I like to have, you know, a defensive defenseman with someone who could score. So you don't have that where you have 2 defensemen always trying to rush the puck. You have one staying back and helping out. So with that question mark, there's a lot of other names out there in free agency if the Devils lose to go that way. I know there's Pietrangelo, but I really don't want to spend $8 million on a player entering their 30s. So I think with that sort of thing, I think the Devils will stay away. But there's other players that are right-handed defensemen the Devils can look at too. You know, you have at Vatanen possibly bringing him back. He was 4.875 this year. You have Shattenkirk, who was 1.75 with Tampa. Gave them a good deal to go there. You have Travis Hamonic, who was 3.857, and he'd be a good ad. We saw him play. We're familiar with him playing with the Islanders a while, and then going to the Flames. He plays that defensive game. Dylan DeMello would be a good ad, and he's $900,000 this year, so he'll get a little more, but not a lot. So he'd be a good ad. You know, and then there's Radko Gudas, but you know, I'd stay away from him because he, you know, sometimes he draws the line between penalties and suspensions. So, but he's a tough defenseman. So there's other ways to add through free agency with players that I think the Devils can get instead of, you know, these big names that may look to go elsewhere. So there is ways to move around this roster. I like Severson. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to move him, but you know, his defensive liability hurts this team a lot. So I don't know if the Devils do look to make trades out with their defensemen. That's again why I say Severson's the name that they will try to move. And you know, we're at the point where we have to do something with our defense to shape it because it cost us a lot of games this year, and you know, it's not only our defense, but I think defense was a main key cog of it. So, you know, we'll see what happens with this, with what the Devils can do. I just thought I wanted to do a video just to see what options there are out there besides free agency. So, comment below, let me know what you think about these possible trades. Do you want to look a different route? Do you want to go to free agency to see what players you can grab from there? Comment below, let me know. Smash that like button. And as always, thank you all for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed so already. If you're coming across the channel for the first time, thank you all so much. Have a great night. Have a great day tomorrow. Take it easy.